All right. Are you there, David?
I am here, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, I forgot where we're at. I think Mr. Reid had a question for you.
Thanks, Nancy. Yes, I have a pretty quick question about the drawings, architectural drawings prepared
Yes.
for the neighbor or to the north versus yours. And I mean, I understand what you were saying before about the angles being chosen as being misleading, and I agree with that. But the kind of blatant difference between the two is this roof outline that he's showing, that the existing roof line of the house to the north is meters lower than in your drawing. So could you address that, please?
I can try. I mean, it's the difficulty in this situation where I wasn't given those plans in advance. Actually, sorry, that's not quite true. I saw them yesterday when they were provided to our client who provided them to me. So I've had them for about a day. It's very difficult for me to review those MSAI plans and understand how they derive the modeling. My understanding from what was said is that the height of the house to the north was taken from city modeling data. So the first thing I would say to you is, I've done a lot of hearings, both at LPAT and TLAP and previously at the OMB. The city's modeling data is not always correct. So I don't know whether it's correct or incorrect in this case. That's the best I can tell you. But I can tell you that the city's modeling data for existing structures is not always correct. I can tell you in our plans that we do have survey data for eaves, door sills, and things like that on the house that's to the north. And I've checked with my client's architect during this process. We believe our elevations are correct. And that's all I can tell you, unfortunately, in this virtual setting. I'm sorry, that's the best I think I can tell you. I can't tell you that the other plans are wrong, but I can just tell you the information we have includes survey data. You can even see that survey data actually on some of the plans that we have in front of you, right? It shows the eaves to a height, it shows the door sills to a height. So we believe we have the information for the adjacent house, and we know that our measurements for our dwelling are correct. So we believe they're correct, and that's the best I could check in the time we've got allotted. I'm sorry, I can't do better than that.
No, that's good enough. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Ms. Hayes?
I have a question with respect to the relationship with 229. You had mentioned that only one of the window sets is from what you have submitted is beyond the rear wall of the structure. One of the things that I'm not clear of from reviewing the materials that are before us is on 229, where the property jogs back and in, what is the facade? Are there windows there? What's the nature of that side of 229?
Through you, Madam Chair, if staff are able to maybe put up one of the site plans, I just would appreciate asking a clarification so I can make sure that I'm trying to address the question. Thanks very much. So are you asking, through you, Madam Chair, to Ms. Hayes, where that house jogs on those internal side yards, whether there are windows in there on the existing house?
Yeah, what are the characteristics of 229 where the house jogs? And I understand your point with respect to the very rear of the property, but the other part, what are the characteristics of 229 there?
I'm going to have to look through my materials and check. I'm not sure there are windows there, but I also don't want to say something that's misleading. Unless there may be other questions, I'm going to try and check through my materials to see if I have anything that clarifies if there are windows on that face. You're asking about 229, correct?
Yes.
Okay, let me see if I can find something in the materials we have, including the photographs.
Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see any information on that on any of the materials that we have, so it's just a question.
Yes, I didn't see anything on the materials provided, and the only thing I would say at this stage is even in those gaps where we are putting the additional rental units, the windows remain angled in those locations on the proposal. So,
Yeah.
so there's no direct north view, even if there was a window there.
Nothing then. You're saying that there would not be any ability, even if there was windows there, for anybody to have a direct view?
Yes. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. This is James from Sulin Architects.
Hi.
Go ahead, Go ahead, Mr. Shiva.
Yes, there are windows on the south side of Nobu and Andrea's house. I personally went and surveyed the side of the house in response to some of their comments about privacy, and it was the impetus for the redesign of the windows on the north side to angle the view and light away from those windows towards their backyard.
There we go. And thank you to staff. That's the image I was looking for. And thanks, James, for jumping in. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
panel members, do you have any further questions for Mr. Bronskill? Seeing none? Okay, we'll take it into committee then. Any of you ready for comments?
I'm happy to start. I think there's a lot that needs to be reviewed and a lot that needs to be said. I want to start by saying I think this is a good project and an important project. Stepping back, I think I have little doubt that the building as it exists now, if that was being proposed now, it would be met with a lot of opposition as well. But I think over time, this commercial building, previously places of worship, came to be part of the neighborhood and enjoyed and maybe even embraced, I'm not sure, but it came to be seen as not necessarily a negative thing. And I think that this building as proposed now is a sensitive addition to a heritage building that can, or hopefully should, have the same impact in years to come. It'll be seen as a positive element of the neighborhood. And I think that change is hard, especially on sites like this, in neighborhoods like this. I think there's obviously been a lot of architectural work to respond to valid neighborhood concerns, specifically about adjacent neighbors. And I think those have been successful. I think we also have to remember the variances themselves. There's no variance for height or number of stories or setbacks, and I think that's really important to remember. And so, yeah, I support this. I think it's really kind of a gradual evolution of the neighborhood character. I think that's what it is.
Okay, Ms. Valentini?
Thank you. I also think I agree with what Mr. Reid has said. I looked at this and I think this is an exciting project. I think it's an interesting design. And I look at, when I looked at the neighborhood, there are other buildings in the neighborhood that have this height. And as Mr. Reid said, this is not a height, there's not a height variance here. I think in terms of the massing, I think it's been sensitively designed with the angles on the roof, so it's not it's not going to be a big box, and I think that makes it very interesting and it helps it to minimize any impacts on neighbors. I think a lot of care has been put into designing a building that will lessen any impacts on neighbors. I mean, this is an urban neighborhood. There's always going to be some sort of impact with any type of development. I mean, we're in close quarters when we're in the, downtown core, where we live. So I think the fact that the windows on the north side have been angled, for me, I think a lot. I think that gives me more comfort in terms of impact on the neighbor to the north. And like I said, going through the neighborhood, I noticed there were other buildings even across the street on the corner that are tall and have that kind of massing. And we are, as we all know, in need of more rental housing, that middle echelon of rental housing and all rental housing. And I think this is a step in the right direction. I think this is a good use of this site. And as Mr. Bronsko pointed out, a lot of the variances requested are existing. I mean, the FSI variance, yes, does it seem high in number? It may on paper, but as I said, I think they've dealt with the massing in a way that does not make it feel or won't make it feel like it's that high. And as he noted, the basement is included. I think it's a good application. I also support it as well.
Okay, any further comments, Ms. Hayes?
I would mirror the comments of my colleagues. I think that, in a neighborhood that's as compact as this, there is no way that you're going to have no impact. I think as near, there's no height variance, there's no variance with respect to that. It is permitted. I think with respect to the comments, with respect to using some of the public realm, we have had no objections from transportation. We've had no objections from the planning department. Heritage is okay. The height is not unprecedented in the neighborhood. And I think the design, although one could always argue some version may be better than something else, I think it is designed so that it is not presents as a massive block and hopefully will provide some gentle addition to the neighborhood. And in the needs of additional housing, its access to transportation, I'm not concerned with respect to the parking issues, and I would be in support of the application.
Okay. I echo the comments that you've made. I mean, at face value, some of the, well, especially the one variance looks quite big for floor space index, but again, change is never easy in my neighborhood as well, but I think they did some work on the design to make it fit, as some of you have already mentioned. So I'm in your hands now for a motion.
I'm happy to move a motion for approval of the application, subject to the planning conditions that the application be substantially in accordance with the plans of January 21st.
Okay. Motion to approve the application, including the condition in the March 24th planning report, moved by Mr. Reid. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Valentini? All in favor? Okay, the application's been unanimously approved, and thanks again, everybody, for your patience when we had issues with the technology. And our meeting stands adjourned at 6:23 p.m. Thank you, guys.